Hi everybody, welcome back to the second go-round of our worksheets. We're on page 24 in your 3-ring binder workbook, and we're on part 2, the last exercise there on page 24. Okay? So now in this little exercise of 5 sentences, we're going to find all the pronouns first of all. We're going to find the reciprocals, we're going to find the indefinites, we're going to find the personal, we're going to find the compound personal, we're going to find the interrogative, blah, blah, blah. We're going to follow them all. So you might want to pull out your notes that enumerate and list and explain each of those 8 types of pronouns, and we'll go from there. Okay? No one can answer that. Where are your 2 pronouns? No one and that. Number 2, some left the concert early and drove home to avoid the heavy traffic. 1 pronoun, and it is some. Number 3, who let the dogs out? Where's your first and only pronoun? Who? Number 4, everybody could hardly believe this. 2 pronouns, and they are everybody and this. Your last sentence reads, what shall I do, pray tell? You have 2 pronouns, and they are what and I. Alrighty, so we've identified our pronouns, and now let's go back up and parse them by telling various things about them. Let's figure out their number. What's the number of no one? Singular or plural? It says so right there. 1. Singular. What about that? Singular. What about some in number 2? Plural. We don't know how many, but some is some. There's a number to that. Okay. Number 3, what about the who? We have to say singular and plural, because it could be all my brothers that let him out, or it just could be my sister. So it could be plural, or it could be singular. Okay? Number 4, everybody. What's the number of everybody? It says so right in the word. Body. 1. It doesn't say everybody's. It's not a plural word. It's everybody. 1 body. Singular. What about the this? Singular. This and that are singular. These and those are plural. This and that, singular. These and those, plural. Makes sense, doesn't it, when you think about it? Yeah. Number 5. What is the number of what? Singular. And what about the I? Singular. Let's go up and indicate the person. First person speaker, second person spoken about, or excuse me, spoken to, second person spoken to, third person spoken about. First, second, third. No one. Third, we're talking about no one. No one is not speaking. No one is not being addressed. Okay? What about that? Third person, we're talking about that. What about some? Yeah, we're talking about them, so it's third person. What about who? Third person, we're certainly talking about who it was. Number 4, everybody. Third person. This. Third person. 5, what? That interrogative. Third person. And I. First person. Okay? Very good. Now let's talk about gender. All pronouns have number, person, gender, case. Okay? What is the gender of no one? common. It doesn't say specifically men, specifically women, or a combination. So we got to call it common. What about that? Neuter. That ain't got no gender at all. There's no sex involved with that. Okay? We're talking about a question there, probably. Number 2, some. Common gender. Number 3, who. Common gender. We don't know if a guy did it or a bunch of girls did it, so it's got to be common. Number 4, everybody. Common. What about this? Neuter. Number 5, what about what? Neuter. And what about I? Common. Don't know if a guy is speaking or if a gal is speaking. Okay, so it is common. Alrighty, now let's go back up and let's talk about case in this little part 2 here, okay? Case. Nominative, subjects and predicate nominatives. Objective case, direct objects, indirect objects, objects of the preposition. And possessive case shows ownership. Okay, shows ownership. Number 1, no one. What's the case of no one? It is a pronoun. It's going to have case. Nominative case, how come? Subject. No one could answer your subject and verb. It's a phrasal pronoun. Nominative case. Find your subjects, find your verbs in every clause. Take the time to underline your subjects once and your verbs twice. It will help you so much, people. Don't think that you're being elementary. Don't think that you're showing your ignorance and, oh, I gotta find my subjects and verbs. Hell yeah, find your subjects and verbs. You can't do a thing without it. Okay? Just to make sure that you know where you are and what you're doing in a sentence. You've got to find each little piece and deal with it so that you can see the whole thing. Okay? You kind of got to be an autopsy person. You've got to be a medical examiner when you're dealing with grammar. You've got to cut it all apart and label all the parts. Okay? That's what grammar is. The study of words and their function. Number 1, the that. What's the case of that? It's objective case. Why? Direct object. No one could answer what? That. That answers your direct object question, what? When you ask what of the verb, right? You've got to know all your little tips and tricks. You just got to stick them in your head. Get that memory, that memory stick, that thumb drive, and stick it in your ear. And just study it and learn it so that you can recite it in your sleep, people. Because you're going to have to teach this someday. Remember that? You're going to have to face little kids in a classroom who are going to pick you apart, baby. So you have got to be able to know these things, to define them, and to illustrate them for these children so that they will learn to speak correctly because of you. What a finer gift could you ever give a young person than to improve his communication skills, than to improve her ability to speak and write. That's the best gift of all, guys. You have to communicate in this world. You have to. So it's a wonderful skill and ability to teach people. Okay, and you're going to do a darn good job at it. Question 2. We're dealing with case. What is the case of some? Nominative, possessive, or objective? Nominative. Why? It's the subject of that clause. Some left, drove is your subject and verb of that sentence. And that's a simple sentence. It's a long one, but it's a simple sentence. Number 3, who let the dogs out? What is the case of who? Nominative, possessive, or objective? Nominative. How come? It's the subject of that little interrogative statement. What's the verb? Who let is your subject and verb. So who has to be nominative case. It can't be anything else because it's a subject. Number 4, everybody. What's the case? Possessive, nominative, or objective? Nominative. How come? It's a subject. What's your verb that goes with that subject? Could believe. Everyone, everybody could believe. What's the case of this? Objective, possessive, or nominative? It is objective. How come? It's the direct object. Everybody could believe what? This. Your direct object. Find your subjects, find your verbs, and ask all your little questions. You got it. You just have to. Do things slowly. Do things one thing at a time. Okay? Okay. Number 5, what? What's the case? Possessive, objective, or nominative? Trick question, think about it. It's objective case. It's the direct object. Where's your subject of this interrogative statement? I shall do what? Whenever you got a question, you turn it into a sentence. Get rid of that question mark. Because an interrogative sentence is 99.9% of the time convoluted. The subject's going to appear at the end. The object's going to appear at the front. And you need to straighten it out. So you get your subject first, then your verb, then your objects. Okay? Very important. So what shall I do turns into I shall do what? I is your subject, nominative case. Shall do is your verb. What is your direct object? I shall do what? Subject I, nominative case. What is your direct object? Objective case. Okay? You know, we just did 5 sentences here, and it took us 13 minutes to do that. English is tough. Okay? It's pretty tough. You have to think it through. You got to engage the gray matter, and baby, that's hard. You know what I mean? So I hope you are in less pain than I am today. I hope you have a wonderful day. When we come back for our 3rd little mini lecture on worksheets about pronouns, we'll start on page, let's see which page. 25. We'll struggle with page 25 next, okay? If you got a question, what you're going to do? One of 2 things. Call me, text me, email me, or contact Tito in Hugh Strong 113. Okay? Rock on, pronoun lovers. See you next time. Bye-bye.